Maseches Bava Kama Daf Mem Gimel Amud Beis. We are 7 lines down the wide lines. Omar Lerove. Let's give a small intro. We said yesterday something very simple. We believe at this point that when a show, if you're not here yesterday, it's okay because we are reviewing yesterday. If a shore gores a persona and the person died, then he has to die. He has to be killed, right? In case he doesn't get killed, the show for whichever reason, any legal loophole, then what? We say that he doesn't pay the kofer. He doesn't pay kofer. In the case of Eved, Rish Lakish said, then you don't pay the shloshim either. True. However, Rabba. Remember, Rabba is opposed to Rove, which is going to challenge him soon. Rabba says, although a person doesn't deserve that special, unique payment called kofer, which is like a korban, like a kapara, he doesn't get that, but nevertheless, the person who's dead is damaged. And at the end of the day, there's like a default situation here of nezek. What's nezek? If you broke my chas v'shalom computer, then you'd have to pay. If you short gored my computer, pay for my computer. No sentiments attached. But so if a person killed, the show killed a person, then pay for the person's worth. Yeah, pay the value of the person as just clear. I call it secular, so to speak, nezek payment. Okay, that is what Rabbah says.
What do you pay?
You pay the value of the person. Let's say if this person would have to be sold, the relatives. In case of an Eved, you pay the owner. The shloshim shel Eved. Now comes Rova with a question. You guys were amazing yesterday how you defined Eish very, very well. Omar Rove and Rabbah. Rove, the Talmid, the disciple, wants to challenge his own rabbi, which is Rabbah. Omar Rove, Ihochi means, if you introduce this new idea to us, that even if a person, if a dead person doesn't have to get, or his family, they don't have to get the real payment, but there's like a default situation of pay, still you have to pay because of nezek, right? If so, wait a second, let's try and move to other ovis nezikin, other prototypes of nezikin, and see what happens then. Out of 4 ovis nezikin, 3 of them have to do with like not inanimate objects with the person's property. That's show. You just establish it by show. Even if you don't deserve money, you still deserve money. You still get just the regular nezek money, right? Okay. There's esh and there's bo. Now, by bo, it says outright clearly, show v'lo odam chamo v'lo kelim. Yeah, I'm sure you remember that too. That only if an animal falls into the pit, then the owner of the bow has to pay. If a person fell there and died, then you don't pay for the person. You don't pay for the person who died. That's mefurash. Not mefurash in the Torah, mefurash drosha in the Torah. But what about Eish? What about Eish? In Eish, there's nothing written. You guys defined it very nicely yesterday, and I will also say my definition now. An Eish is a person that, let's say a person lit fire, ignited fire, even in his own property, but was very loose about it, lackadaisical, was irresponsible about it, and the fire spread, and then eventually the fire found, that's the lotion of the Torah, the fire spread and found motzakoitzim, it found your neighbor's godish, kama, all kinds of haystacks on whatever wheat, whatever your neighbor has, and it burnt it. You have to pay for being irresponsible. We saw machlokas in Daf Chav Beis, I think. It was a famous machlokas of Rabi Yochanan Rish Lakish, eish mishum mamoinoi or mishum chitzav. When you have to pay for fire, is that because your fire is your property? Just like if my bull went and started eating the grass, so too I also have to pay if my fire went and ate and consumed the grass. Okay. Or do we say Eish is because of chitzav? I like the fire here, and the fire goes boom, 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 boom. It's kill my own action. It's kill me, my own doings in my own hands. The Gemara here follows the opinion that it's mamoinoi. It's money. In other words, it's not me. It's not my direct action. I lit the fire, and could be I'm a nice guy, but at the end of the barbecue, the kids were driving me crazy, and I had to put them already in the shower and quickly go home. And I tried to put the fire, didn't have time, so I just left the fire there, And I saw the fire starting going towards Reuven's field, but I really didn't have time. You have to pay. You're being irresponsible, and therefore you have to pay for the fire that consumed other people's money. What about people? Let's say the fire actually, instead of burning the haystack, or besides burning the haystack, it also burned the person to death. Ouch. What's going to happen then? Let's see. Let's look at what Rava has to say. Rava is now challenging Rabba. If so, if you believe that there's like a general cosmic idea of paying for a person's nezik that he died, let's say one lit fire with no bad intention. He wasn't trying to kill anybody. The kids had to go home and, I was too tired to start putting out the fire. Alpi Adim, and then Adim came and told us, what happened? Because of your fire that spread, then somebody died. A person actually died. And our Adim will say that that's what actually happened. The Shalom Domim, then you have to pay money for the dead person. If you're telling me that in case, even when kofer doesn't apply by a show, you still have this overall catch-all idea of Domim, so too by fire. By fire, the Torah never said that you have to pay if you kill the person. The Torah talks about kama, godish, koitzim, things that grow, organic things. It doesn't say a person, so what? But at the end of the day, if you're telling me that I damaged a person through show, I have to pay domim, so too, it should be by fire. Frag the Gemara, okay, Rava, what do you want? How does Rava know that that's not true? Maybe Enochanami. Who told you otherwise? Rava? Why are you attacking Rabbah? Maybe Enochanami, maybe it's true that if the fire, just like show, it's a general idea by Nizikin, except for Bor, which is the odd one out. Yes, the person has to pay. It's not a Rotzeach. Rotzeach would not have to pay money because Kim Rabbi it's not Rotzeach. It's not Chitzoy, but still you damage with a fire. The person was damaged to death. Yes, what do you want? Ilema, we're trying to figure out where did Rava, this is Rava, where did Rava find a source against Rabba, against this idea of paying general nezik of domim. Ilema, if you want to tell me from the following Mishnah, it's a Mishnah in our Masechta. A person lit a fire next to someone's godish, next to someone's haystack, whatever, hayfield, and there was a gedi, there was a kid, not a kid, a human kid, there was a little goat, a young goat kid, kid also has other meanings, kofusloi, tied to the haystack or tied to those stalks, the evet somchloi, and there was a slave that was sitting or standing or guarding the haystack, but not tied. The evet wasn't tied, or you have an animal that was tied, v'nisaf imoy, and they burnt together with the haystack. Then chayev, then you have to pay. What do you have to pay for? You have to pay for the gdi, because the gdi is an animal. There was kofus, that was tied to the haystack. You have to pay for the haystack and for the gdi, because the gdi had nowhere to run away, no way of running away. What about the Eved? The Eved, here says Rashi, the Eved, you don't have to pay for. Why? The Eved could have run away. I don't know why the Eved didn't, but if I wasn't trying to kill the Eved, I was just, too tired to put out the barbecue, and the Eved was standing quite near, and I should have been careful, but the Eved should have run away. Because the Eved is not a free human being, but he was actually physically free to go. He wasn't tied, he wasn't cordoned anywhere. Mimela, I don't have to pay for the Eved. Okay. Now, that's not the main part. Here comes the fun. Here comes the punchline. Second case, the opposite case. Eved kofusloi, v'gdi somuchloi. The Eved was tied to the haystack, and the gdi was right next to it and could have run away. V'nisaf imoy, burned together, everything burned together. Remember, let's focus on the slave now, not on the kid, The Eved was tied. Potul, I'm potul from paying for the Eved. Why am I potul for paying for the Eved? Don't tell me Kimlev the Rabbi Minei. I know you guys are so smart. It's not Kimlev the Rabbi Minei. First of all, I had no intention, and it's not chitzov. It's not my doings. It's my money. Even if it was my intention, by the way, it's a very big Roma. Once you believe it's just my money, Oh, let me ask you a question. What do you mean just a Groma? He's just regular Nezikin and not murder? So what? He should still be chayiv. Here, Rava comes with a strong card against Rabbah. One second, who cares about anything else? You killed a person, so it's true, you're whatever you want to call it, it's Goma, but it works within the framework of Nezikin, yes. Had this Eved been a little tractor, I don't know, little anything, little tykes, if the Eved was an inanimate object, then what? Enochanami, you would have had to pay for him, right? That's Eish. True? So just because he's Eved, you completely potter? No, you should still be chayiv because of what? You should be chayiv because it is damaged property. According to your logic, Rabba, whenever a person gets killed through my property, my nizikin, yeah, my momoin, it has to be paid. Stam is plain nezek, and here we see the Eved Patu, right? Yes. Good. So that's Rava's taina against Rabba. Says the Gemara, no, that cannot be a source against Rabba's concept. Haomer Rish Lakish gave a different explanation to that Mishnah. Kigon she'itzis begufa shel eved, ay, this man is a vicious man. Mamish white trash from many years ago, yeah. Gufa shel eved, Mamish took and he lit, I don't know how you say it, he ignited the actual eved. Mamish lit begufa shel eved, the kalme b'derabba minei. Well, in my language, that's called rotzeach. And if a person murders an Eved Knaini, he has to be killed, by the way, in case you didn't know, yes. If you kill an Eved Knaini, then you are put to death, and then you're executed. Don't try it at home. And therefore, Mimela, it has nothing to do with our Sugya, meaning, En Chinami, if it was not Kimlab the Rabbi Minei, if I was just, lazy at the end of the barbecue, and the fire spread, and I would be chayav on burning, on the fire, indirectly burning, my neighbor farmer, anything, I would also have to pay for the Eved. Yes, Rabbi is right. You pay for a person that's dead by default. Over there, we talk about a different case. And by the way, Rish Lakish, if I remember right, is the one who says chitzav. Rish Lakish says when fire hits, it's like a murder. In any event, in this case, you mamish killed the Eved directly. Yeah, you lit the Eved. You set fire. You set the Eved on fire. Yeah, and Mimela, of course, you're potter from anything else because beretzicha you're potter from any money. Of course. Mimela, Rav still does not have a case against Rabba. Rav did not find a case to prove to me that when it comes to Eish, you don't pay for killing a person, you don't have any payment. Rav doesn't have a case. Ve'ela meho. So try to find another source where Rav would question Rabba's concept. The Tanya. Look at the following brisa, very easy brisa. You remember all these brisas at the beginning of the Masechta, which are based on the Mishnah also, when we started comparing all four of us Nizikin, this one has a plus and this one has a minus. Each one has his own Chumra and Kula, right? Very good. Daf Heyom Daludum and Beis Heyom Beis Ve'lamod Detanya and all that area. It says in the Brisa, Choimer be'esh mi bebo. Let's find one Chumra of Eish, which is more than Bo, in which area is fire more stringent, or we are being more stringent regarding fire more than Bo. Sha'esh mu'edes lechoil ben dover roilo, ben dover shen roilo. The Eish is always muad. There's no time by Eish. And Eish also, even the Eish consumed something ein roilo, something that's not suitable for fire to burn. Let's say the fire actually scorched the earth, the actual surface of the earth or someone's house. When you feed fire, when you make your Lag BaOmer bonfire with the children, you don't put earth or stones in order to feed the fire. On the contrary, right? You put them out. It's not normally eaten, consumed by the fire. Nevertheless, if the fire ate that which is not suitable, such as it really darkened, mamish burnt to an extent someone's walls, made them dark, he has to repaint, you got to pay. Or the land became very scorched, yeah, it didn't mamish burn, wasn't consumed, you still have to pay. Mashenken the Bo, on the other hand, is a very spoiled child. Bo doesn't eat everything. By Bo, we say a lot of different objects that fall in, you're not chayvon. What did we say? Sho v'lo odom, chamo v'lo kelim. If any dishes fall inside the bowl, someone went on his way to the mikveh kelim, and the beautiful new china set fell inside. Oy v'voy, you don't pay for it. And if a person was died in the bowl, you don't pay for it. Ve'ilu, and yet. So that's the only difference we found between fire and bor. Wait. Frekt Rava, or you can ask the question, Bilu she'esh meshalemes sheloi b'chavono domim, ma she'en ken beboil, like Tani. We should have said another difference according to Rava. By Bo, we have Gzeras HaKosov, as I told you in the introduction. What did I tell you? When you have Bo and somebody fell into the bar and died, you don't pay for him. That's Mefursha, Gzera, Drosha. By Eish, well, according to your Rava, yes, Eish doesn't have any special limud, so Eish follows the regular course of Nezikin, which according to Rava, if somebody without Kavano burns someone and to death, you have to pay for the entire person. So that should be another second difference between Bo and Eish, and it's kind of not mentioned So maybe that's the reason why Rava is unhappy with Rabbi's Yesod, because we see by fire, the Gemara the Mishnah, the Bryce, the Bryce ignores the difference by Bo, there's a special thing that there, a dead man you don't pay for, and by fire, according to your Rabbi, you should be. So why is the Bryce ignoring that difference? Says the Gemara, no, that too is not such a big question. That's not a reason for Rava to attack Rabbah. Dil matana v'shia. Sometimes Mishnahs or Brises don't mention everything, as we saw at the beginning of this perek. Yeah, Tana is not like a fisherman in the market that tells you everything that he has on sale. Sometimes Mishnahs or Brises tell you a few items and not the others. Yeah, Mimela could be that item also is there. Yeah, there is another difference between Eish and Bor, and the Brisa sort of misses it, and that's fine. Yes, it's an okay time for questions. Okay. I'm repeating / revising / recapping, reading. Yeah, now everything that we said. Let's get straight over here. By show is the only nezik out of 3 obvious nezikin that we're dealing with. Show is the only one the Torah talks about kofer, right? Kofer is a special payment, atonement for the bailim. Okay, good. Now, in case kofer doesn't, by the way, that's very good we're saying before the next part of the sugya. Let's say kofer is just not around. He can't play in the field. Why? Because either the person admitted himself, right? Or he was shaloi b'chavana, okay? So in case kofer is not there, says Rabbah, I have a bench player. It's not a bad example, by the way. He's running into the field now as second best. Why? Because, what do you mean? Even though there is no kofer, there still should be a regular paying for the damage. And when you kill someone, that's kind of damage. Yeah, good. Eish, my good friend Baruch, Peanut Gallery. Eish, there is no kofer prescribed in the Torah. The Torah never talks about a person having to be paid kofer for. The Torah says the fire found kitetz eish motzo kotzim gama kama godish. Yeah, the fire found what it likes to eat. Okay, that's all. It doesn't talk about a person. However, Frekt Rova, if you, Rabbah, tell me that there should be just a logical, secular kind of payment of just pay for the damage, it should also apply by Eish. And it seems that it doesn't. But so far, we haven't found really a reason where Rabbah sees otherwise. But it seems to be Rabbah's question, why won't you say the same thing by Eish, that if the person was burnt by the fire, he should be paid like Nezik, even though kofer is not mentioned over there. It's not kofer. In other words, that there's no real player in the field over there, just a bench player. There's no kofer, and instead of kofer, you pay for some, there's like a second best. But l'chatchila, you should pay that, says Rava. Why not? Because Lamaisa, the person died from the fire. So pay Nezik, not kofer. There's no kofer beish. Bo is the third one. Bo is outright no. If a person died in the bow, I don't know why, there are Sakosu, Kabbalistic ideas, a person falling into the bow and dying, where the person doesn't have to pay for. Not domim, no nothing. Ain't done nothing. Because that's what the Torah says. Okay? These are the 3 levels. We're now dealing with Eish. Better?
It's better. Again, anything that's kavanah that doesn't kill somebody.
Leave kavanah alone. Of course not, because kavanah is kimel b'rabimine. Kavanah is murder. You don't pay if you murder. You don't pay even for his Gucci tie and for his whatever. Shall I mention more fancy? That's another shalom. That's in Ksubas. No, whatever. Don't remember. I think it's an issue. Now the Gemara says something genius, as always. Ella. The Gemara doesn't know what does Rava want from Rabbah. We never found a proof against Rabbah that by Eish you do or you don't pay for money for the dead person. Ella, here's something very important to teach you regarding the forms of questions of halacha in Gemara. The Gemara has many different ways to ask a question, and each one is something else. Ella, and this is coming up now. Rava himself never challenged Rabbah. If Rava would have challenged Rabbah from a Mishnah, what would be the word? Moisiv, not Matkif, no, Moisiv, Mem Vav Taf Yud Beis. Moisiv, Matkif maybe, but Moisiv is a classical one, as Rashi says over here. Moisiv is what you ask when you have a card, a Bryce against an Amoira. Rava here is not attacking Rabbah, he's debating within himself. Gufe, he himself, he has a question. And he's asking, oh, okay, I hear what my Rebbe is saying, Rabbah. Now let's try and extrapolate it to Eish and see what happens. Isha, and let's see what his internal question is. Isha shelo b'chavana mishalem damim or loi. When there's ish without kavana that killed a person, do you actually pay damim or you don't pay damim? In other words, what's the question? Remember my story with a bench player? Listen, mi'amrinan, shall we say, gabe show, by show, would be chavana mishalem kofer. By show, there is a payment called kofer. If the show gets killed, the normal case, kofer is paid. So to shaloi b'chavana mishalem damim, there's a substitute. There's plan B because there's a plan A. If no A, then at least pay B. Aval ishoy, but by fire, baruch, the bechavana lo mishalem kofer. If fire, even bechavana, there's no kofer. Why? First of all, kofer is not mentioned in the Torah. Secondly, kimle. Do you know the guy? Kim Le, he's from China. Kim Le b'draba minei, and also no kofer. So Lamaisa, by fire, there is no kofer prescribed in the Torah. Shaloi b'chavana nami lo mishalem damim. My English is not that great, but I think B comes after A, right? When there's plan A, there's plan B. When there's no plan A, there's no plan B. Get me what I'm saying? In other words, because by fire there is no kofer, maybe there's no payment whatsoever. The payment of damim is only a substitute in case kofer can't be paid, because the Torah really is hot on the idea of you paying. But by fire, when there is no kofer by plan A, but the normal case, then mimela by plan B there is no money either. That's one side of the question. Or maybe oidilma, or maybe not, oidilma, or I could say otherwise. Kemen gabi show shaloi b'chavano, a show with no intention, afal gab de leika kofer, a show which unintentionally killed doesn't pay kofer, right? The owner doesn't pay kofer because the shore doesn't get killed, and yet mishalem domim, right? In case where there's no kofer, domim is now who playing in the field, yeah? Gabi isha nami, but the fire also. Afal gab de b'chavano lo mishalem kofer, even though b'chavano had did it b'chavana, you don't pay kofer. Shaloi b'chavana yes mishalem damim. Still, shaloi b'chavana should be an entity by itself. Maybe look at fire with no kavana, regardless of what would be plan A with kavana. Fire without kavana, maybe you still have to pay damim. As we explained before, it's just a general, logical thing. Just pay for the person you killed. V'lo yadinani, we don't know the answer, and then we remain with the mysterious word teiku. Yeah, teiku is from Korea, not from Japan. Yeah, in other words, what? We say that we don't know. Rava remains in a question. Do we apply the rule of my great master Rabbah, that even if kofer is not paid, you have other money paid, stam, nezek of death, or maybe not? That's a question about fire. We remain teiku. So by show, we do say you pay domim. By bow, you don't, because that's mefurish loy odom. And by fire is a question which remains in teiku. Tish b'tatzku shabayas. I assume the psak would be like always. If you want to know beyond teiku, it's usually 90% of the cases in Bava Kama. My chavrusa told me it's not always the case. What's teiku? Motzim chaver lavaraya. The guy who lit the fire unintentionally because the kids were driving him crazy, so he just didn't have enough time to put out the fire and somebody died. So you're not going to charge money from him. But if the family catches the money, if the family chaps the money, then they become the muhzak and the other one becomes the motzim chaver lavaraya. By the way, that's a story. They saw it a few days ago, but the brother of the Ktsois Choishen, he says that motzim chaver lavaraya can change hands, whatever. You don't know the raya, we don't know halacha. Teiku. Prove to be that that's halacha. And you won't, because it's a suffix in the Talmud, and also by the great commentaries.
Someone comes in front of the base team, so they go like this, if he claims damages.
I'm so sorry now, we're in the two dots, I'm going to shatter your world. Blow your bubble. And everything we've seen till now is going to completely be upside down. Everything's going to turn the other way around. Everything we've learned is now going to be challenged and questioned and turn the other way. Get ready, hold tight. Yeah, where's the tissue box? Ki also Ravdimi Amar Rabi Yochanan. Ravdimi quotes Rabi Yochanan. Ravdimi came, he quoted Rabi Yochanan saying what? Kofer. It says in the Torah, by the way, twice in this parsha of Mishpatim, it says im kofer, if he pays kofer, yeah? And also it says by eved, im eved. Remember, you should remember those words. Im kofer, if a kofer is paid, and by eved it says if a slave is gored. Says Rabi Yochanan, I don't like the word im to stay meaningless. Matan Mudloimer im kofer. What is the word im kofer, which is seemingly redundant? What is it coming to add? L'rabois, it's coming to add one more case. Listen to this. Kofer shaloi b'chavona ki kofer b'chavona. Why? He says kofer shaloi b'chavona. If the shore gored with no intention and he doesn't get killed, you still pay kofer. You still pay kofer. I'm so sorry to do this to you. You still pay kofer. While Rabi Yochanan argues on Rabba, schuto. And therefore, says Rabi Yochanan, that kofer shaloi b'chavona is being paid. Not domim, no second bench player. Plan A, you pay kofer even with no intention. Why? Because it says in kofer plus. Yeah, you ever saw an ad that says XYZ, etc. and more? What's and more? Here it means to add, even in case unintentional, still you have to pay the kofer, even though the shore didn't die. What? You're good? Omer le'abaye, ela me'ato.
Murder.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't murder him without kavana. He murdered him. The shore gored the persona. The shore gored the man unintentionally. So the shore doesn't die. Why doesn't the shore die? He's not put to death because the shore is like a human being. A shore is talking about all of humus, and therefore unintentional. You don't take to Beis Din. You take to Beis Din, but it's proven that he's unintentional. You don't kill the shore, but you still pay the kofer. Yes, against what we said. Why Rabi Yochanan has a drasha? Obviously, Rabbah thought otherwise. Rabbah maybe doesn't darshan the word im, as we'll see later. He doesn't think the word im is extra, or maybe not extra for this purpose, and we learn something else. Abaye says Abaye, okay, how far are you going to take your idea, Rabi Yochanan? According to that, Eved Nami Matal Mudloima. By Eved also it says im Eved, right? The redundant word im, seemingly im, applies by Eved too. L'abos Eved Shelo B'Chavona, Eved B'Chavona. Would you say the same thing about Eved? Eved is different to a free man. How much do you pay for an Eved? Shloishim, 30. Everyone says in different languages. Very good. Shloishim. Would you say the same thing, that even if the shore unintentionally killed and he's not going to die, the show, you still pay the shloshim shel eved? No, domim. The shloshim, the real thing. Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, could very well be. Im is an extra word for both free men and for an eved. If you want to say that, I have a problem, because in the previous Amud, Rish Lakish, we saw yesterday Rish Lakish saying, Shoshim is this eved shaloi b'chavano. Potu mishloshim shkolim. Rish Lakish said otherwise. Rish Lakish said that if the show killed the Eved unintentionally, doesn't die, and he's exempt from the shloshim shkolim. Yeah, so how can Rabbi Yochanan say otherwise? Okay. Oh, Shlomo, your wife's going to get a note. Omer lei, Gavra Karomis, classical Gemara words. Are you asking from one man on the other, from one Amoira to the other Amoira? What's the problem? This is Rabbi Yochanan, that's Rish Lakish, which, by the way, are alongside Abai and Rav and Shmuel, very good friends, very nice brothers-in-law, very this, but they argued all the time. So what are you asking from Rabbi Yochanan on Rish Lakish? And we're going to prove that, we're going to hammer it in even more. Rabbi Yochanan outright argues with Rish Lakish and says, Eved, it says in the Torah, Eved, Matan Lomer im Eved, black and white. Yes, Rabbi Yochanan does stick to his gun. Also by Eved, the word im is always redundant, ki'ilu, and needs an explanation. Why im Eved? L'rabos Eved shelo b'chavona k'Eved b'chavona. Very good. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan is through and through, be it a free man with kofer or an Eved with his shaloshim. In both cases, what do we say? That even if it's unintentional, still you do pay the kofer or the shloshim. If that's gufa with the word im is coming to add and include more. Now, however, if you have a chart in your mind now, let's make a chart. Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish on one side and Eved and free men on the columns, okay? So now, Rabbi Yochanan, you tick both boxes. Rabbi Yochanan, Eved, Ben Choylin, you always pay. Yeah, you pay the payment even unintentional. Rish Lakish, we only saw regarding Eved, right? Rish Lakish, we didn't see outright that Rish Lakish would argue regarding Ben Choylin. We saw Rish Lakish arguing regarding Eved, saying that Eved killed unintentionally, you don't pay. But what about a free man? I don't know. Frag the Gemara. That was just an intro for the Gemara. Rish Lakish nami. Shlakish also, Nema, let us say, shall we say, mi de eved im eved, the word eved im eved loy dorish, since he doesn't darshan, he doesn't pay attention, so to speak, to the word im to teach midrash regarding eved, and he says no, we don't add the extra killing for an extra payment kofer for unintentional. We don't add that item for eved kofer im kofer nami loy dorish. Yeah. Also, im kofer, talking about a free man, would be the same thing, and he doesn't add the extra word im to teach me the extra case of unintentional. Would Rish Lakish also stick to his gun through and through? Amri loy. We say no, not necessarily. And here comes a beautiful grammar in Indian in the Torah. Not grammar, syntax. Eved im eved loy dorish. The extra word im by a slave, he doesn't darshan, he doesn't think it's an extra word. Kofer im kofer dorish. Oh, but the word im kofer, he does learn from it. Wow, what's going on? Umayshno. What's the difference? Do you or don't you believe that the word im is extra? Yeah, kivyachol, make up your mind. Yeah, answers the Gemara. Oh, here we have to read the entire pasuk. I'm reading it to you before we continue the Gemara. The psukim im kofer. I'll start with actually Eved. When the Torah talks about Eved, the Torah says, "Im Eved yigach hashor." If the slave, if the gore, if a slave is the one gored by the shod, and so and so. That is a whole new story. Before we spoke about Ben Chori. Now we speak about Eved, and we're having a new clause in the law. If it's an Eved, then so and so. Grammatically speaking, that makes perfect sense, and therefore it's not an extra word. It's just needed there in the pasuk for the syntax, for the logic of the sentence. Mashenken im kofer yushas olav doesn't make sense. What do you mean if there's kofer? Of course there's kofer. It's not an optional thing. It's the end of the sentence. It says Egor shore the person. Okay, I gave up. And then it says if he gets kofer. What do you mean if? Are you Rabbi Elizabeth? If he has to get kofer. The word im is redundant. If the word im is redundant for kofer, the Meiler Rish Lakish may possibly agree that it's coming to teach me that even unintentional killing, that extra item, he still pays kofer. Only by Eved it's not redundant. Meiler by Eved you don't pay kofer unintentional. Look in the words of the Gemara, better than me. Umayshno Eved im Eved lo ksidim kom tashlumin. The words im Eved are not written regarding the payment, regarding the psak, the halacha. They're written in the storyline. If it's an Eved, then so it's a good way to start the sentence. If, but in kofer ksibim kom tashlumin, the words in kofer are written in where tashlumin are mentioned, and that's extra. It says if a show gores a person, then if he pays kofer. What do you mean if he pays? Then he pays. The word im is very mutar, very redundant. The mailer then for that Rish Lakish would agree that you do pay kofer for the unintentional killing. Question time. Everybody likes everybody? Good? Peanuts? Let's continue. You don't have to ask, but I'm prepared all the way down to the Mishnah today. Today I can give all...
Look at every im in the Torah and then make a comparison between that.
Possibly, yeah. You have to... Yeah, I'm sure they're all dealt with.
Something from...
Yeah. Look, we saw Ace. Remember Ace Aleph Taf in Daf Mem Aleph? You already back from America when we said it? So some people darshan Ace, like Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi so they didn't. And also but Im we say, if it's an extra word, because syntaxically doesn't make sense, then Enachinami, we say that the word Im is not teaching me anything, according to Rish Lakish. But if the word Im is really extra, doesn't sit right in the sentence, then it teaches me something extra. That makes a lot of sense. Would Rish Lakish Google through the Torah and search for everything? Yeah, possibly. It would be an interesting thing to find out. But in this sugi, that's what we see. Yep.
How would you translate the word im?
If.
When?
Later. No. We are before the end of the Amud, and we're going to do 2 Amudim today, my friends. Ton Rabbanon. Let's go to the next part of the pasuk. O ben yigach o bas yigach. It says if he hits a boy or a girl, it means little ones. L'chayv l'ktanim kigdolim. If the show gore the young children, boy or girl, is also chayv. What is the chayv? Sekila. And it's not talking about adults because it already says isha. What does it say isha? What for? Testing time. Rabbi Kiva isha to tell me Yerusha, right? Comparing man to a woman in that respect, just like a man gives it to children, a woman gives her nezikin, which are potential money. He doesn't go to the husband, goes to the children. It's Thursday, sikum time. But why do you have to tell me father, mother, boy, and girl? Is this like one of those ads to Meuchedet? Father, mother, boy, girl, perfect. What's it telling me the boy and the girl for? I know, yeah, frankly, more valodinu. Of course, if the shore gores a boy and a girl, of course he's going to be chayiv skila. Ho'il, din who means I know it without the pasuk speaking it out. Ho'il, since v'chayiv odom be'odom, v'chayiv shoyer be'odom, a man who kills a man is chayiv. A show that kills a man, oichet chayiv, also chayiv. Makshe chayiv odom be'odom, lo yishna ben ktanim l'gdoilim. Just like when a person kills another baby, not another baby, a man kills a baby, a month-old baby. What's the story? Is he chayiv misa or not? Is he chayiv to go to the store? Yes, no, maybe so? Yes. Yeah, because it says kol nefesh. It says veish kiyaki kol nefesh odom. Any living soul. You kill a month-old female girl, lo mishaneh, you go to the base, beheading just like you killed 40 years old men. There's no difference whether the victim is young or old, minor or not. Av shechayv sho ba'odom, so to a bull. We keep comparing them all the time. So if a bull gores a person, it's just a simple equation. So if the show gored a 40 years old or 4 years old, it should be the same. Why do you need the pasuk for that? Why would children be out of the picture? We're hammering it more. We're drilling more. Oh, not only it's just like a binyan like simple equation logic, it's even more even more so by sure. A man mitzad being the killer, on the killer side, the criminal side, yeah, a boy who is 12 and 11 months old, and he learns in an American public school, and that's the fashion. He brought a gun together with his to kill people, yeah. So 12 and a half years, Jewish boy killed someone. Is he chayiv misa? No, he's below mar bitzvah. So mimela, if the human beings were age doesn't matter when it comes to being the aggressor, and yet from the victim side, when it comes to the victim, you are chayiv if you killed a pre-bar mitzvah bas mitzvah. You are chayiv even though age makes a difference, but from the victim side doesn't make a difference. You're always chayiv. Show be'odom she'osu b'ktanim kigdolim. A show below bar mitzvah. A show didn't yet have bar mitzvah. Yeah, only Reformed Jews make bar mitzvah to the animals. But Lamaisa, yeah, have you seen a short's bar mitzvah? That I haven't seen yet. What? Bark mitzvah. Here's a par mitzvah. Par is a short. Par mitzvah. So it's not funny. It's repulsive. It's terrible. I had nightmares after seeing that video. Shor be'odom she'osu b'ktanim kigdolim. A day-old show that got aggressive right from the start, and he killed someone, a man, a person. Are you going to kill that show, the little show? Kaf? Yes. Why? Maybe, there are no bar mitzvahs. Maybe there's a difference. Maybe show only means an older show and not an egel. Says Rashi, no. We'll see later on in the 7th parak, what Rashi brings down here. It says, show oikesev ki yulad. When a show is born, a man is born, meaning a show is an adult ox, yeah, and yet right from the birth it's called show, which means by animals we do not differentiate between minor and major, yeah, it's all the same. And if so, there's no difference whether the show that gored is young or old. So of course, if that show, which by him age is not an issue, of course he's going to be chayiv if he killed little one as much as a big one, a young one just like an old one. In other words, why does the Torah have to tell me, for heaven's sake, why does the Torah have to tell me that if the show gored a young boy or girl, it's chayiv misa? Of course chayiv misa. And it says, Gemara, it's all very nice what you're saying, but I could have said another svara opposite that. Im amart odom be'odom, sheken chay b'arbo dvorim. I think you all know how to translate this and explain this instead of me. I could take a few sips of tea. You tell me, people, when a show gores a person, do you have to pay for all 5 things? Boishes, there was shame, there was embarrassment, there was medical expenses, yes or no? No, one big no. Everybody says no, right? Because that's kinotzu anoshim v'lo shvorim, right? In other words, when the shor gores a person or my bulldog bits someone, I only have to pay for the nezek, for the actual devaluation of the person, not for the pain, not for the shmein, not for anything, not for all other four. Yeah, tzali pushavas bushes. Mashenkin by a man, you are chayiv. So since we found a chumrah, although it's an unrelated chumrah, we found a chumrah by a human being more than by shor, which is what? A man does have to pay for all five things, and a shor doesn't, regardless to age. Stam. Gored an adult. So Mimele, I see that a man is more severe in a certain aspect. A man is more severe than shor. We treat him more severely. Mimele, one would have thought, stop right there. Mele, maybe that man attracts more chumras, and also to be a chumra if he killed a boy or girl. Maybe a shor who killed a boy and a girl is patur, just like his patur on the 4 payments. Although there's not logic, I want to explain to you something which is against the Western kind of logic. There's no connection between young age and Arba Dvorim, but it does make a difference. The way that the Torah always works, and that's a good rule to know and remember, the Torah says that the way the Torah's logic works, the real logic works, is if we find a chumrah, if there's 2 boxes, A and B, okay? For this, for our matter, it's shor and a man. If box number A has 1 or 2 or 3 chumras in it, we assume other chumrah is attracted there too, will also be there. If box number B has kulos, mistoma, there are other kulos there. Even the chumras and kulos are unrelated. Yeah, you knock on the guy's door, you see a guy, very frum-looking guy, machmir on Shabbos, on Kashrus, and Ida. I assume he's also machmir on Shatnez. Most probably it all goes together. You see guys Mekel and everything, probably Mekel also in Shatnez, yeah? It's a very, very Balbatish example. It's just a way to sort of misaber soizen. So here also, I see that there's some kind of chumrah by men more than by shor. The man has to pay all 5, well, the shor only 1. So maybe also by little kids. I don't know anymore. I don't know. My hands are tied. Maybe in Echnami, but kids is the same. The kids, maybe only the man has to pay for young children and not the shor. Talmud loima, bam, 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 bam. That's what the Torah did have to tell me, and it's not redundant. That's why he's telling me, boy or girl, to tell me, kitanim like gedolim. Correct the brisa.
Regarding claiming the 4 other things.
Jawohl. Good. Frag the Gemara. That's all very nice. Then this pasuk, you know what this pasuk is? It talks about a shor muad. It happens, so it doesn't happens to be kiviyachol to be talking about a shor muad. But tam minayin, how do you know tam is the same? Why? Because tam is always more lenient, right? We're always being nicer to the shor tam. Maybe a shor tam that gore the kinderlach, a zisa kinderlach, maybe the tam doesn't get killed. They say pay, I'm sorry, killed. I'm sorry, someone killing. Sorry. The tam, maybe the tam is not stoned if it killed a boy or a girl because, well, tam is always nicer. And the pasuk happens to be talking about muad. Says the Gemara, don't worry about it. Dinu, I don't need an extra pasuk. I can extrapolate from muad to tam very elegantly and easily, or so we thought. Just like a muad, a muad, in other words, we already established muad is chayav for the entire family. Muad has a family plan, He gored a man, he gored a woman, he gored a boy, he gored a girl. Chayav skila, okay. Just like by ish ve'isha, the parents, we did not differentiate between tam and muad, and tam also pays by ish ve'isha. There is, because benu bas is only by muad, but ish ve'isha is mentioned by both. Benu bas should be the same. The young children should follow the same equation, the same comparison. Ve'oid. And well, kal v'chomer, and all. Now we're bringing not just a comparison, we're bringing a kal v'chomer. Ma ish ve'isha. That's quite mind-boggling what we're saying now. Ma ish ve'isha shikan hura koichem b'nezikin. A man and a woman, adults over bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, those people, when it comes to nezikin, they are hura koichem. They are not as, they have less power, they're less empowered, they're not as
Inferior.
They're inferior when it comes to nezikin. What does that mean? It means like this. When a man or woman damage, they have to pay. That much we know by now, yeah? Or the mod loilam, gotta pay. The man himself damaged, the woman damaged, that boy over bar mitzvah damage, you gotta pay. He broke the window of the high school, or wherever he has to pay. Yeah, himself, he has to from his own money. Now, as opposed to who? Little kids. Below bar mitzvah, but mitzvah don't have to pay for the nezikin. And even the parents don't have to pay mikra din, something people find very hard to grapple with, but that's halacha. And we'll discuss it later in Perek, I think. Shmini, a child who damages, he doesn't have to pay. Pgiyoson ro is a pgiya ro. In other words, if you hit by a little child, you're stuck. There's nothing you can do about it because he can't pay you. Doesn't have money. It's all his father's money, and he's a separate entity on the other hand. I would not like to delve into it now, by the way. It's an interesting sugya which I have learned, but not for now. So now the Gemara says as follows. It's a kal v'chomer. Let's read again. Ma ish ve'ish, a man and a woman, shikin hura kochem and nezikin. A man and a woman, when generally speaking about nezikin, they're inferior because when they damage, they have to pay. And yet, and yet when they're the damaged party, they always, you do have to pay, and the shore gets killed, whether tam or muad. Benubas, Benubas in the world of Nezikin they're the big boys, like today's world. The children own the world. Yeah. In other words, the Benubas, their Nezikin is better because they can throw stones all over and they don't have to pay. So of course, if they themselves get injured, the prince and princess, of course you have to kill the show, all the more so. That's what I would have said. So, and there's no difference between Tam and Muad. If they get killed, I'm sorry, thank you. If they get killed, of course the show has to be put to death. So why do you need a pasuk? So I don't need a pasuk. Omalto. Now the Gemara wants to shed it out and reject both things we said, both the comparison and the kal v'chomer. In other words, in short, what we're trying to say now is you don't need a pasuk for ben ubas to tell me tam from muad. By muad, I already know that if you hit boy and girl is chayv, the young ones. I don't need a special pasuk or yitro to teach me tam. I would automatically assume it's the same from muad to tam, and even there's the kal v'chomer. Frag the Gemara, no, ma pitom. Amalto, you said v'chidanin kal michomu le'achmir. For a change, I will read the round brackets. I think first time in my life, because here it makes sense to read it. Would you learn easy from the heart, the lenient from the chomer? What kind of a comparison is that? You're telling me, yes, there's boy, girl, father, mother. If they all apply by muad, they automatically apply by tam. No, mapitom. Tam is always more lenient. Why is tam more lenient? What are the two things we see leniency by tam? Half a damage, and also you pay me gufoi. Tam we always have rachmanus, the words of Taisvus. So how can you elegantly, quickly just compare muad to tam? Your other idea that an adult is more lenient than a child, it's also not true. You're telling me that it's logical to say that if a shore kills an adult, you'd be chayv, all the more so if you kill the little ones. It's true that the little ones, when it comes to nezikin, they cause, they don't have to pay. But when it comes to the value of the person, a man and a woman adult are worth more than children and are more choshev than children because of chayv b'mitzvahs. What did we learn in the Mishnah at the end of Horius? That when it comes to saving the life of a man or a woman, you save a man's life first. Why? Because a man is more chayv b'mitzvahs than a woman. Mimela, what? You see that whoever is chayv b'mitzvahs is worth more. So Mimela, I can't automatically derive that if you chayv an adult, you chayv a child. So we're in need of a pasuk. Where's the pasuk? Now that we proved that we do need to have a special drosha. Talmud loymar, oy ben yigach, oy bas yigach. If you notice, the girl and boy is redundant. It says twice yigach. Or at least tell me, ben bas, one time yigach. Why twice nigach? Negicha betam, negicha bemuad. One negicha is telling me for tam, and one for muad. Right? In other words, we would not automatically know that the show tam has to be killed if he killed a boy or girl, little ones. I need the extra word yigach to tell me yigach is extra. The Torah could very easily say, ben bat yigach. And other two, negicha lamisa, where if you look at the Gemara, we're literally 2 words before the Mishnah. So we're about to finish, and then your question. Negicha lamisa, negicha lanizikin. Also, the boy and the girl, whether they died or they got nezikin, if they died, the shore is to be put to death. And if they got nezikin, they were damaged, and you have to pay for the damage, yes.
Can you explain how the pasuk comes for the answer?
Thank you very much. Have a great Shabbos.
We're able to answer on the social.